can see there, just taking his hand and both of them getting ready to go. If it is going to be a Buzzwole Ninetales archetype, both decks are actually going to be trying to spread around the board. So that's going to be a really interesting interaction that you can see. Buzzwole GX, so efficient at taking prizes in the active position, thanks to the damage buffs that you can get with Diancie, Prism Star, Beast Energy. Even lots of Kukuis are played in these lists a lot of the time to increase your damage output. We are going to see the prize cards here. He is definitely going to be playing that Buzzrock archetype. You can see one of his Beast Rings in the prizes. When you're up against a spread deck, that's no bad thing. But he's also got a couple Lycan Rock pieces in there as well, so not quite perfect for him. And we do see exactly what Gustavo's deck's all about here.
There goes that all the spread stuff there, though. It's like having the Tapu Lele prize. I'm not quite sure how many he plays, but that might end up being a bit of a problem if he only plays the one, which it looks like he actually does.
Yeah, and it was his very top prize card as well, so he may not have access to that Tapu Lele for the entire game. Who knows? He may have some other answers in there for it.
Oh dear.
We are going to see Gabriel kick off this round 3 here, leading his Buzzwole GX against Gustavo's Mimikyu.
Yes, so looks like starting off with an Ultra Ball there from Gabriel's side, discarding a Unit Energy and a Fighting Energy. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what he actually opts to go for first. Normally Rockruff is what you want to get out, because you just having access to that Bloodthirsty Eyes at any point is just so important, or even just to be able to Dangerous Rogue something later on. But it looks like he actually might be going for Diancie here.
It's really interesting. Gabriel actually has a Lycia in his hand right now. You know that he is playing Diancie Prism Star, Beast Energy Prism Star, and Ditto Prism Star, so that might be his first turn supporter card here. It does just allow Buzzwole to get so much early damage, but because he's gone Ultra Ball immediately for Diancie, perhaps he's got a different route here.
Well, I mean, he could use the Ultra Ball to get Diancie and then use the Lycia to get out the other two, of course, so that he has all three.
And we have to bear in mind as well, he doesn't really know what Gustavo's deck is.
No.
Mimikyu is oftentimes seen in Malamar decks.
Yes.
He probably assumes that's more likely of a deck, because these sort of spread archetypes, although they are powerful, they're not quite as frequent as the Malamar list, so perhaps he's playing around other things right now.
Yeah, and interestingly, he actually opts to not play a supporter at all. He just attaches to the active and passes.
Yeah, he's keeping it hidden, really, I guess, so that he can burst some damage on things like the Mimikyu. Maybe he can use it in combination with other cards later down the line, but we are going to see Gustavo kick off, get that Shrine into play, show him the bad news. He's also going to slap down a Blitzel, so he's got a pretty nice draw engine to fall back on here. He's already committed a Choice Band and a Counter Energy to his active, so he can get a few more draws with that opening Lily. It also means that he can filch at the end of this turn as well to get a couple more cards and really help him get set up here.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very decent start. So it looks like he's got himself another Tapu Koko as well. Now he's just going to look through, and he will find, of course, that the Tapu Lele is not available to him. But he's still in pretty good. Pretty happy with the setup he's got here, because being able to filch, draw 2 cards, and just get more to be able to maybe do a flying flip next turn and start really putting pressure onto Gabriel is going to be what he wants to go for. Yeah,
definitely. Getting down Tapu Koko, always good. It can give you that freedom of retreat, so even if the Mimikyu is going to go down, he can respond to that quite easily by promoting anything else next turn. Looks like his hand is really nice, actually. He has things like Energy Lottos, Energies, and other draw supporters in his hand, so he's going to be able to finish his turn quite contently with a filch here and pass it over to Gabriel, who actually top decks into the Beast Energy. That's one of the reasons to potentially have played the Lycia, so he can't do that, but he's going to carry on his turn here with the Cynthia.
Yeah, so yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity there, but I mean, he's got the Beast Energy at least, so still, and he will actually, because of that, he will be able to take a knockout on the Mimikyu now, so that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, it does mean as well he can draw cards, hopefully try and find something like a Brooklet Hill to bounce that Shrine of Punishment. It's always going to be ticking over, getting extra damage counters, which plays into the hands of Gustavo, and also the bench snipe damage is going to be so crucial for the Buzzwole player here in order to maybe pick off things like the draw engine, like Zeb Striker, or just make sure that he can keep up with all the spread that Gustavo is going to plan to do here.
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't want to play into Gustavo's strategy, although it looks like that's exactly what he's had to do. No counter stadium for the Shrine of Punishment found, and that will be another 10 damage going on to the Buzzwole, and you can see just how quickly the Shrine of damage tick overs build up to what's actually really, really scary numbers.
Absolutely. Gustavo is going to crack on with another Nest Ball. He's going to go ahead and find himself a Deoxys, one of the other tech cards that he does play in his list for matchups like these. The Buzzwole does have 2 energies attached to it, so Deoxys being able to hit for weakness. Counter energies are in his hand, and they're already live because of Gabriel's early knockout here, so it's going to be a really aggressive response from Gustavo here.
Yes, it will. Now, Ogon goes in a skateboard onto the Blitzel. Of course, this being the tool that's kind of like been the pseudo replacement for Floatstone. When it's attached to a Pokemon, its retreat cost becomes 1 less. but it also means it can retreat whilst asleep or paralyzed, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and we actually see him put down the new Victini as well. It's a full-on counter-energy box-style deck. He's got answers for everything in this one.
Yeah, he does. That new Victini is really, really cool. It does 20 damage for fire and a colorless times the number of basic Pokemon that you have in play. So that starts to build up to some pretty decent amount of damage very quickly, because, I mean, obviously all the Pokemon you play are basics.
Yeah,
so
it synergizes perfectly with his list. It's going to help deal with some pesky Pokemon that have fire weakness. We've already seen Decidueye this tournament, but even when you're not hitting for weakness, you're going to be doing a good number of damage, especially with, flying flips and shrine. Sometimes that can even reach knockouts himself.
Yeah, it makes absolutely sense to play that. And there is the Zeb Striker coming down now. Of course, that sprint ability, enabling you to discard a card from your hand and draw 4 cards. We saw it being played in the Grand Ball list earlier. It's one of the perhaps not talked about as much cards from Lost Thunder, but still one of the standouts from that set, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards where we harp back to things like Octillery, which seen a bunch of play. So people always respect the Zeb Striker as a great way to keep drawing cards. As we do see the Psychic go off from the Deoxys, Gabriel finally able to find himself a Brooklet Hill here. He's also going to commit energy to Rockruff. He's actually double thinking about it, because he might need to just have to one-bomb this Deoxys this turn if he thinks it's enough of a threat. But instead, he's just going to commit to alternate attackers here, and he's eyeing up a Guzma in his hand. He's got a few options. He could also choose to, of course, search with the Brooklet Hill, try and get his board set up a little bit more. But whenever you are trying to find more cards on the board, it just helps out the spread player a lot of the time. So he might be trying to limit this as much as possible, and he's actually going to try and take out the engine here with that Guzma.
This is a strategy that we sometimes see out of the players when it comes to these sorts of matchups. They just think to themselves, actually, I'm better off just taking out my opponent's draw support. It's similar to how in the first round we saw Caleb going for the Alolan Muck just to shut down the Oranguru, and all of a sudden the Gramble deck becomes a lot less effective. It's a similar sort of mindset.
So Gabriel, not missing a beat, gets a second prize, but it does allow Gustavo again. That counter energy is still live. That Deoxys is still a huge threat. And we are going to see Gustavo continue to search for a couple more Persimmon here, get himself that power huddle into play.
Yeah, and actually making use of Gabriel's Brooklet Hill, of course, because that isn't even his, but of course all the Persimmons being fighting side, Gustavo can make use of it as well.
Yeah, fantastic synergy. Here comes the other Persimmon. So that's the Brooklet Hill one. He also had a Nest Ball, so this Persimmon's going to be hitting pretty hard and powering up, looking for some future turns where, Gabriel's not really threatening any other Pokemon. It would have to be like a Lycanroc or nothing else really right now.
And just to add insult to injury, not only did Gustavo use Gabriel's Brooklet Hill, but he's also replaced it with another Shrine of Punishment. So it won't do much in this instance, because, I mean, this Persimmon's going to knock out the GX anyway, but it just stops Gabriel from being able to search out more attackers. Yeah,
and attaching to the Persimmon means that the Deoxys stays in the back, nice and safe. Because even when you're using counter energies, obviously it's gone offline again now that they've leveled up the prize trade, but that can threaten Buzzwolves throughout the entire game.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And you can see that sort of what prizes are left now for both players. Still a Buzzwole and a Lycanroc in there. And I mean, the biggest problem Gabriel has right now is that he's got no energy left. It's going to be very hard for him to mount any kind of attack this turn, really. Yeah, he does have Beast Ring live. It's also his Sledgehammer turn, so potentially some of the strongest turns possible for this deck. It's just his board isn't really cooperating with him right now. He didn't use Brooklet Hill to search out Baby Buzzwole. That could have got an instant response on something like this Persimmon. So he's hoping to find something off this Cynthia here. Yeah, these are some of the most powerful turns that you can have, but only if you're actually able to do the things with them. And that's exactly the problem that Gabriel has right now with this sort of lower, not as high quality setup as he'd like now. He has all these opportunities, but nothing to actually do when this opportunity presents itself. Yeah, and it looks like he's grimacing. He's not drawn into much here. He's only got 1 unit energy. He's got a rescue stretcher to get the Buzzwole GX back, but is that even the option that he wants to do here? It all looks very weak for him this turn. No Buzzwole, non-GX, no B-String, no nothing really. No. This is going to be a very awkward turn. He's having to commit another GX to the board when there's already a Deoxys in play. There's another Shrine damage ticking over, and Gustavo loves having extra turns because he gets to take full advantage of that with flying flips. We're just getting extra attachments in play. He could even start going ahead here with prizes. Yeah, you could, and really Gustavo could not ask for much more of a better situation. It's I mean, the only way it could really get even better is if he's able to take a 2-prize knockout somehow, but that isn't going to happen. So just content with the 1 prize.
Yeah, it's simple and it's effective. He's able to go ahead in the prize race now. A second damage counter going onto the Buzzwole GX, putting that in range of, again, more attackers here. So he's holding lots of things in his hand right now, and that's a really exciting thing for Gustavo.
Yeah, it's almost like Gustavo's tempting Gabriel into B-String, because, of course, if you B-String, then you can do Knuckle Impact or Absorption, knock something out. But then, also, if he does that, Deoxys is going to come in and do Psychic. Yeah,
this is a very bad spot for Gabriel. He's going to play another Cynthia here, hope to get a better 6 cards than he did that last time. But he is just falling a little bit far behind right now.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for him in the slightest. And I'm not even sure there's much you can see from the Cynthia that would actually get him back into this game in terms of the full tempo of how it seems to be going.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot here. Obviously, things like replacing Stadium, that's going to be a nice thing here.
Yeah,
no B strings from that 6, which is a little bit awkward. So he's going to be limited to just attaching 1 or 2, or 1 energy per turn. He does play counter gain as well, so maybe he could actually go so far behind that he can get a free attachment, which could be an interesting avenue for him.
Yeah, there is the Buzzwole, but 1 turn too late. Gustavo has taken the prize. It will not be able to do the Sledgehammer for 120 damage.
Yeah, this Jet Punch, he's just had a little mess up shuffling there. Yeah. But this Jet Punch isn't going to be too influential. There's no things that you can really target down quite quickly with the spread damage on the bench, and only doing 50 to the active Persimmon isn't really setting up much damage either, so it's going to be a very awkward turn for him overall.
Yeah, no question about that. Now, the Jet Punch, 30 or 50 goes onto the active rather, and it looks like you're just targeting down both Persimmons at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much longer this Buzzwole is going to stay on the board, so these spreads may end up being inconsequential as Gustavo slaps that Stadium replacement immediately back onto the board, as well as a Choice Band to boot. So he's also got energies to sprawl around. He's just really taking control of this game here.
Yeah, Gabriel not able to catch a break as, again, the Shrine Punishment goes down. Another team play puts a ton of damage onto the Buzzwole GX. And, I mean, Gabriel can't in good conscience leave this Buzzwole active, but I mean, what choice does he have? He needs something to attack with, but nothing else really helps him that much.
Yeah, so it looks like he's using Wonder Tag to grab himself a Guzma to get that Buzzwole GX out of the line of fire, at least force Gustavo to have these sorts of answers. But again, using Guzma's not drawing him cards. He had a chance to hit B-strings, but because he's having to use a non-draw supporter, he's going to be not able to access them again for another turn here.
No.
He has set up that spread damage so that a Sledgehammer, even doing the 30, gets that buff with Diancie. So he's going to be taking one more prize here to try and get some sort of semblance of a comeback. But it looks like he's also eyeing up an Ultra Ball here. He's got Weavile, which can do a decent amount if there are enough power huddles in play, but there's not too much going on right now. Looks like he's got a pretty awkward board.
Yeah, I just don't really see a way out for him. And I mean, if I'm Gabriel, I'm honestly considering maybe it's worth just moving on to game 2 at this point. I mean, he hasn't out and out lost yet, but it just does seem like that's. I just don't really see again much of a way for him to actually move forward from where he stands currently.
And it's over to Gustavo now. Can he find himself a Guzma? That's got to be something he's looking for. He's going to quickly go for an Energy Lotto, grab himself a Rainbow Energy here. Even that can work in combination with his own counter gains. So it's another card that we're seeing from Lost Thunder, which changes both these archetypes drastically. He does have that Coco that he can freely retreat, so he's got whatever he wants available. Looks like he does have Guzma available in his hand as well, so he could do pretty much whatever he wants this turn, as he's going to go for a Rescue Stretcher, trying to replenish that Persimmon as well, to have that powered up.
At this point, he just wants to stream Persimmons over and over. He's just realizing that he just trades so efficiently with KOing Gabriel's GXs whilst not putting down a single GX himself. So Gabriel has to put in so much work to take all his prizes to win, and Gustavo just doesn't have to work as hard to do that.
So here we do see the Guzma. He is going to be aggressive and take out that Buzzwole GX. Yeah. And he is going to then retreat out of his Tapu Koko, bring in that Persimmon once again, doing so much work here. He's also got a Rainbow Energy, which he can commit to his Deoxys. It does have a second attack, which can do 120 damage, and if this Shrine stays in play much longer, he could be finishing off a Tapu Lele, or just any other non-GX attacker on Gabriel's side of the field, because of course the non-GX Buzzwole has weakness to Psychic.
Yes, it does, and that makes it a lot easier for Deoxys to deal with it. And with Gustavo now going down to 1 prize, again, what's Gabriel left to do? He can promote the Buzzwole, sure, but it doesn't really get him much further.
he's going to be able to use Brooklet Hill here to again replace that stadium. The stadium war's been going on this entire game, as you can see he's sort of agonizing over what to do. He knows the writings on the wall that Deoxys, if he can't access it this turn, could just simply come in, you're able to attach another energy, and that's ready to go. So
and actually, speaking of it, there should be one damage counter on that Tapu Lele GX, actually. Or there is one there.
It's just that clear die.
Yeah.
Make our lives more difficult, but we are going to see the... I think he's gone for an Ultra Ball here. There's not much he can eye up, though.
No.
At this point.
We can see it. There's the Alolan Ninetales GX. Again, you're playing now, obviously, just for the extra consistency of being able to search items, but it's not much good if you haven't got anything to actually evolve it.
Yeah, it's surprising that we don't see anything like an Orangaroo. That was oftentimes like a staple in the builds that played Magcargo. Usually that was because you had such great synergy with Smooth Over.
Yeah.
So seeing this build with Alolan Ninetales, he's just opted to take it out altogether. He's playing some other interesting tech cards. He's playing a Ditto, Prism Star, as well as a Weavile, which we've seen him already discard. He's also playing a Giraffe Rig, so maybe he has some other matchups in mind, but it feels like his deck isn't very well equipped to deal with Gustavo's, especially with the slower start that he had this game.
Yeah, definitely. Just it's just really nothing been working out in his favour. There's a Tapu Lele coming down. Wonder Tag, grab Cynthia, just trying to find something, anything. I mean, if he could just find another energy at the least, then he could do swing around and KO the Persimmon, but doesn't really help him get much further in terms of actually winning, because Gustavo does not need much to actually just seal this game.
Yeah, and this is one of the great strengths of Gustavo's list. He's taken a brave choice to not play Tapu Lele, or any GXs for that matter. They have some very powerful effects. They help you get going. He's lost his Zeb Striker very early, so he's pretty much just sat on his hand for the entire game. But it's because he has a full non-GX deck. He knows he has like 2 turns to do whatever he wants, because Gabriel physically cannot win the game while he's sat at 3 prize cards.
Yeah, and if that's going to be the case, then that's just how he's going to leave him. There's Ultra Ball, discarding Choice Band, and Fighting Energy. Still, again, there's just looking through. There's just nothing that really gets him much further. I mean, you can get the Ditto out, but I mean, actually getting the Ditto out, that just leaves a really easy prize for Gustavo to take. Potentially, that's really, really risky.
Yeah, he's got to take these risks at this point. He knows that the Buzzwole is as good as gone at the same time, so he's just going to swing for 50 with Sledgehammer. It looks like not taking any prizes this turn, leaving the Persimmon active. Maybe that's one of his routes to stay in the game here. He actually didn't go for maybe he reached for a prize card thinking he had the knockout.
Yeah.
That's definitely not the case.
Yeah, I know he was 10 short.
That's going to be the first game over there. Pretty simple stuff for Gustavo. We saw how difficult it would be for him to come back just by the prize race alone. Gabriel had a pretty slow start. Ideally, you're getting those Ninetales GXs out doing 70-30 spreads alongside that early game of Buzzwole doing 30-30 or more with, again, Kukui, Beast Energy, Diancie. Sometimes he could be the better spread deck. It's just in this case, Gustavo has a lot of answers for the Buzzwole matchup. Yeah,
it's a funny thing because it is a little bit like you said. Obviously, there's when it comes to sort of GX versus non-GX decks. Obviously, the GX Pokemon have these really insanely powerful attacks and abilities, which just makes them so good. And obviously, it's not like they're not good enough to beat the non-GX decks, because if they weren't, then no one would play them. But at the same time, it means that if you're playing a GX deck against a non-GX deck, you cannot afford a slow start, because as soon as you have a slow start, that prize trade is going to stumble out of your favor so much more quickly, because they're only giving up 1 prize each time they are knocked out. And that's really the important thing, which Gabriel wasn't really able to take the most advantage of, is that he wasn't able to just start going bang, 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 to take lots of KOs in succession.
Yeah, I think there's nothing really to worry about in this matchup. He's going to have to try and just set up a little bit better than he did that last game. He pretty much Cynthia'd into a complete blank. He had a few B-string turns that he wasn't able to capitalize on. There was a Brooklet Hill where he didn't get a Sledgehammer Buzzwole down, which could have then immediately dealt with a Persimmon on one of the turns that he had, which was a bit slow. So these are the sort of things you need to keep an eye on for the next game.
Yeah, so I'm sure that he'll be bearing all that in mind as he formulates a strategy in his mind as to how he's actually going to tackle game 2. Of course, he will be going first as well, which will obviously help. It means that he has a bit more of a chance to set up properly, although it does mean that Gabriel, because he'll be going second, he'll be able to attack. Sorry, Gustavo will be going second. He'll actually be able to attack first, maybe get off an early flying flip, which could be bad as well.
Yeah, that could be awkward, but getting that extra energy attachment can be such a big deal for especially the Alolan Ninetales. Big issue for him that he's prized both Diancie and Beast Energy. That is
dear.
So rough. So sad for him as we see Gustavo laying out his prize cards. Not quite as awkward, but oh man, Beast Energy and Diancie is exactly what you're looking for early aggression. As you do see, he's once again led that Buzzwole GX up against what looks to be a Tapu Koko as well from this far away. And he's immediately going for a Brooklet Hill here. So we saw how important the Stadium Wall is going to be against Shrine of Punishment. So although this Brooklet Hill is going to be good for setup, it's a little bit awkward to commit it so early.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of it's one of the things that you want to sort of like put down a little bit later on if possible. He does go for the Rockruff again off the Brooklet Hill, and it's good that he has got the Brooklet Hill so early. That was something that he was definitely missing in like the first turn or two in the previous game, was sort of like that Shrine of Punishment damage took over for a little bit too long.
And that's one of the reasons why we're also seeing this Alolan Ninetales incorporated into this more aggressive style deck. It's because it has amazing synergy with Brooklet Hill. It allows you to get that Alolan Vulpix down straight away. It looks like Gabriel's going to use his first turn to get that free attachment onto the Rockruff this turn, as we do pass over to Gustavo, who can also take full advantage of that Brooklet Hill, as we saw in that first game. He's going to combine that with what looks to be a Nest Ball, so a couple of Persimmons already hitting the board.
Yeah, again, a really good setup for Gustavo. With one of the advantages of these sort of all basic decks is that, they don't involve any sort of waiting to set up. You just, if you have the thing that searches the Pokemon, you just get it out, and then that is your setup. Just putting a Pokemon on the bench is your setup. It's kind of hard to argue with that.
Yeah, it's not hard to ask for that. He did get one big whiff on Energy Lotto. He has a second copy in his hand, definitely looking for double Colorless Energy this turn. He could go for some early aggressive team play, so it's going to be a big Energy Lotto here.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's rough. Oh, no, he's found it. That's perfect.
Okay, yes. So finding exactly when he's getting the double Colorless, so that's going to be whacked straight onto one of those Persimmons, and then I imagine if he has a draw supporter of some sort, he'll probably just play that and try and dig for more Persimmons, so he can actually do a really good bit of damage to team play.
He's got that turn 1 Lily to boot, drawing him 6 cards, it looks like, and looks like he's picked up the Fairy Lele. No other Ball Search, so the team play just going to be coming in here, doing 40 damage unless he has anything else. But that's still, damage counters on the board. It's, as effective as a Flying Flip would have been, but he also had that Lily that could have potentially have done more. Yeah. So that's why he committed the energy early to allow him an extra draw here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with Gabriel, like I said, go for the Brooklet Hill again, and actually, of course, Brooklet Hill able to get water or fighting Pokemon, so he is able to use it to get out the Alolan Vulpix, which is something that he really didn't have access to in the last game, or at least because he wasn't really able to make use of Ninetales at all, but that's definitely not the case this time. Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
Interesting.
This is a awkward start once again for Gabriel. He's had to use that switch, get that Alolan Vulpix into the active so he can use Beacon, and he's trying to use the Bloodthirsty Eyes to slow down Gustavo, hoping that he can't pay retreat out of this other Persimmon or just slap another double Colorless Energy on and continue to go for team plays. So he's really had, again, just a not great start here.
No, it's... and he's doing the most that he can, but you really don't want to be using Bloodthirsty Eyes just to attempt to stall out an attack on it's really a kind of a slim chance, because it's really not that much to ask for from Gustavo's side to get another double Colorless. In fact, does he have one already?
Yeah, so that's really awkward for him. He has Rainbow, so he can pay retreat. He's got that Brooklet Hill, so he can guarantee himself the knockout on this Alolan Vulpix. So that could be a way around this. He's going to just see if the fling is going to come into effect, which is also an option for Gustavo, of course. As you said, it's really awkward to put down that Lycanroc, because we've seen how important Shrine of Punishment can be. So the longer that stays in play, the more damage that you tick over, it all just benefits Gustavo.
Yeah, it does indeed. And it will be interesting to see whether... Because the Persimmon only has a retreat cost of 1, so he can just retreat and do team play if he wants to, but is Fling ever the play here? I don't think it is, but there's...
I mean, it can be, because it forces Gabriel to then find himself like another Guzma and attachment, because the Vulpix isn't strong as an attacker. Even the Alolan Ninetales requires 2 energy attachments, so it could just trap the Alolan Vulpix and make it slow for him, and that looks to be exactly what Gustavo is content to do here, as he does the Fling for the 30, then the Shrine ticks over to 4 damage counters, as well as another one onto that Buzzwole GX.
It's very, very decent, and the more, of course, the more Shrine of Punishment ticks that happen, the closer and closer that those 2 GXs get within range of a team play KO from Gustavo, especially considering that the other Persimmon is out now, which means that they'll be doing actually 30 more to the Lycanroc as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy, we're going to see him having to, just so upset that he would have to lose a turn otherwise. He's going to have to go for the Guzma play this turn and spend what looks to be his dangerous Rogue GX attack to deal with just a non-GX Persimmon here. Yeah. And the Shrine again taking over, getting more damage counters onto the board. And yeah, having to use your dangerous rogue is never a good feeling against non-GX decks.
No, it's not, because it is funny, because it's not like you can use it for anything better. No. You will only ever be getting one prize, but normally when you do dangerous rogue, you're taking out some huge GX, you're getting 2 prizes, and you feel like an absolute champion. But that's just not the case here.
Oh boy, Gabriel having to read Power Huddle. That's not good news for him.
Nope.
It can increase that damage output by 30. So Persimmon's starting to get scary as he does rescue Stretcher back, the one that was just knocked out. Looks like he's actually going for the Victini with the counter energy and the choice band.
Oh my goodness.
So he's going all in on this boy, trying to take advantage of the counter energies while he can, and put a lot of damage counters onto this Lycanroc.
I mean, all he needs is one more basic and he's got the KO, right?
Yeah, so it's doing doing 110, 120 with the Shrine.
Yeah.
So that one more basic is going to be what he's digging for here. And, ooh, looks like a Zeb Striker, but that is potentially a...
Is that an Acrobike?
Ooh, he's going to take the double colours energy. He actually does have the Deoxys, so wow, yes. What a swing turn from Gustavo here.
Absolutely
taking advantage
incredible.
of that V beatdown and absolutely answering this Lycanroc to perfection. And again, it's that situation where his Deoxys is in the back, ready to go. His Persimmons are ready to go in the back, and he's taking full advantage of counter energy while he can.
Yeah, so 150 damage from V beatdown with the choice band does take the KO onto the Lycanroc. And I mean, we were saying before how Gabriel needs to, maybe ramp up his set up tempo a little bit if he wants to pull ahead in this. But right now, this game is looking to go a very similar way to game 1.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the case. The Shrine of Punishment is racked up to 7 damage counters on the Buzzwole GX now. And he's once again begrudgingly having to promote that Vulpix. And looks like he does pick up an escape board now. He's going to have to commit another GX Pokemon to the board, the Tapu Lele, to get him out of this bad hand. It's again a good time for Gabriel. It's that 4 prize turn. Sledgehammer's live. B-String's alive. Potentially that's something he's going to look for here. At least he could also try and find himself an Alolan Ninetales GX and find some cool item cards. But it looks like he's just having to deal with lots of bench Pokemon because the pressure that all of these Pokemon sort of put out against him, he just has to keep dealing with these threats like the Deoxys, the Tapu Koko, if he can take a cheap prize here and there. He's just trying to keep up with tempo at the moment because Gustavo is just flying ahead.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much Gabriel tries to keep up, it's just never enough because Gustavo always has some kind of answer, whether it's, is that double B-String?
Double B-String, raw from hand. That's going to power up the Buzzwole GX. So it looks like he might be going for a Guzma on the Deoxys potentially, but even then the Persimmons are in range thanks to the amount of damage counters on this Buzzwole already. So he's going to be able to use the B-Strings, which is at least thinning cards out of your deck. You're playing the B-Strings while you can, getting the value. But it's still just not ideal because these massive attacks, like normally you're so happy to be doing 160 damage, you're going to be able to deal with all sorts of threats, but just because Gustavo has no real viable targets for him, it's just overcommitting a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's just, speaking of not overcommitting, but speaking of big commitment, look at that, yeah. Free energy onto the Buzzwole, and dealing with, to be fair, like the one thing that could definitely KO the Buzzwole very easily, but now there's another Shrine of Punishment damage taken. Now the Persimmon can KO the Buzzwole anyway, so it doesn't even really help that much.
Yeah, it's really rough for him. The Shrine also had to tick over to put him to 8 and 1 damage counter going for the Tapu Lele. So this Buzzwole looking really unhealthy as here comes that 4th Persimmon onto the board.
Yeah. And also that means Gustavo is indeed playing the 2-2 split just to get that extra damage in against the evolution decks.
And it's going to take Gabriel off B-String. He did use 2 of them, but it means that he's going to have no more energy acceleration throughout the game.
No.
And again, it's that thing where his board is just looking not strong. He's got a Ditto, which could become something like a Weavile for a 1 energy attacker. He does have the escape board, at least on the Tapu Lele, so he can choose and see what he draws that turn, what to commit to, but no attacker is going to be standing up to these Persimmons at this point.
Yeah. And not only that, but now with the Lele being damaged like it is, all it's going to take from Gustavo's side is a choice ban on a Persimmon and 1 team play to knock out the Tapu Lele and win. So it's like, again, and actually it might get to the point where if Shrine of Punishment ticks over enough, he doesn't even need the choice bans. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. As we do see the team play, Gustavo down to 2 prize cards. There's already a Tapu Lele getting a little bit more damaged here and there throughout the game, as we do see Gabriel finally get down a Weavile from that Ditto, and he has a 5-card draw from Lily here to see if he can get back into this game.
He needs to draw a Counter Stadium off of this. If he doesn't, it's game over.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the case. He also needs, well, he needs a lot of things. He needs energy cards. He currently doesn't have a knockout on the Persimmon because there's only 2 abilities in play. So everything points to awkward at this point.
Yeah, it is a little bit tragic, sad though that is to say. Yeah, there's an Ultra Ball, can discard. Lizzie has not really done much for him, and maybe a Lycanroc 2, no, just going to discard another Lily.
Yeah, and although this has been, fairly routine for Gustavo, we can't discredit Gabriel's deck. We just have to say that, Gustavo techs a lot of Pokemon here. He's playing Mimikyu, he's playing Deoxys, and in general, it's a deck that is trying to prey on these GX archetypes. That's the whole reason why he's playing the deck. He wants to be using Shrine of Punishments, get things in range for these efficient non-GX attackers, and it's really paying dividends in this series.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We've just seen just how powerful Gustavo has been able to be with all these different, with these non-GX Pokemon, and just being able to really outpace and outdamage and outmaneuver Gabriel at every single turn.
Yeah, it's felt like there's been some inefficient turns from Gabriel's deck. Oftentimes it can have powerful swings here and there. It's just either he's just not led with a supporter, have to force to beacon just to get himself out of a rut, or just missing energy here and there. He's just missed powerful turns that he could have had throughout the game, as we do see him have his last stand here, Ultra Balling, finding himself an Alolan Ninetales GX, grabbing himself an Ultra Ball, and he has option for 1 other trainer card, as is that amazing Mysterious Guidance ability allows. Looks like he eyed up the Rescue Stretcher to recover maybe some other Pokemon here, just so that he can get some sort of attack off this turn.
Yeah, but I mean, there isn't even any kind of... Yeah, again, it's just so tricky because... Snowy Wind could have been potentially a cool way to approach the matchup. Just doing slight damage in different places, but then the Persimmon just KOs the Alolan Ninetales so easily. That's not even an option. So it's just... Oh man,
he doesn't even have energy in his hand. This is an absolute nightmare situation for Gabriel.
It just seems like no matter what Gabriel does, there's just it's just nothing's really effective. And
he passes in the active.
Doesn't Gustavo just announced team play and win the game? He
needs to have Choice Band.
Well, no, because they're trying to punishment damage ticks over. He does 130.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that should be it.
Yeah,
unless there's something we're missing.
No, I don't think there is, because... Yeah, there it is. It's working out.
Yeah, he's just looking at Shrine. He got it.
Yeah, because...
Well played.
Yeah, 130, Shrine of Punishment damage. What? Then... Oh no! It's bent. No, sorry, I'm being silly. It's 100.
It's the 100 with team play.
Yeah.
Plus the 10 tick from Shrine.
I think I'm thinking, because the maximum damage that team play can do is 130, but you need to have like a Mew in the active or something like that to do that. I'm thinking last format, obviously.
Well, I mean, he's still in a pretty good position here.
Yeah.
We do see Gabriel carry on here. I mean, he still has 4 individual prizes to take.
Yeah, he does.
And he's really on a clock. He's used that Lycanroc to bring up the Victini here. He needs to bounce that stadium ASAP, because that's going to be ticking over and getting this Tapu Lele in range throughout the game. But again, he's just digging for so much here. The Lycanroc has 1 energy on it, but looks like it's going to be another slow turn for him. And obviously that Tapu Lele is not in a safe spot if it's in that active position, so he's going to have to throw something else up. He does find himself a Brooklet Hill.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big
finally,
deal.
But it's a little bit late at this point, unfortunately. It's just... He needed that sort of like 4 or 5 turns ago.
As you can see, he is just mulling over what else he can do here. He's trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and that's what the best players have to do in these spots.
Yeah.
It may look dire for him, but he's got to try and give himself the best shot here, as he does retreat into that Weavile and try and stay out of range, as we do see Gustavo pay retreat on the Victini, and he's going to go for Fling for game.
Wow, amazing. So for Fling doing 30 damage to the Tapu Lele on the bench, that will be the game, and that will be the match. So Gustavo will be your round 3 winner here today in a very convincing fashion.
Yeah, really convincing. I mean, we have seen these spread archetypes. Persimmon Coco did well in recent American regionals. Has also done, it actually won the Lille special event with Survivor and Poison Barb. So there's a combination of cards going on right now that just blend together quite well. Gustavo's added, just a handful of cards from Lost Thunder. He's got that Zeb Striker line in there for some extra consistency. But in general, just the amount of counter-style cards in combination with lots of these non-GX Pokemon, just creates a really threatening archetype.
Yeah, and it's just so tricky to even deal with, because again, you have to put in so much work to take only one prize every single time, and all the while all this damage is just building up, and then eventually you're getting knockouts being scored out of nowhere, and you're just thinking to yourself, how did I get so overwhelmed all of a sudden when, in theory I should be like much faster, much more powerful.